Okay, the first coat is totally dry now. I actually let it dry for 24 hours, and as you can tell, it's pretty dry. The first coat did look a little rough after I looked at it, so what I had to do is actually go over it and knock down the high spots with a sanding block very lightly. And I used this drywall sander that I picked up, and really quick it takes off all the high spots. One thing I want to mention is when you're doing rail that's mounted into a street, you want to pay close attention to the railhead and making sure that they're always nice and clean as you're working. You want to make sure that the gap where the real flange goes in is clear. Occasionally run a piece of rolling stock down the track and just test it out and make sure you're not going to have any type of derailments once you finish your project. So this is pretty good. I'm getting ready to put on the second coat now, and when we come back I'll show you another update to this. Things I wanted to mention is what I mixed the plaster in, or the drywall compound. I actually use this for plaster as well, but it's a rubber mixing ball that I picked up from Micromark. It's pretty good. You just put the water and the compound in there, mix it up. You can let it dry overnight, and just when you're done, just squeeze it, and the actual material that's left over breaks off, and you can just wipe it out with a damp rag, and you can reuse it. So it's a pretty good tool that I use. Alright, the second coat is finished. It went on pretty smooth the second go around. I added this crossing here in front of the power plant, and a future crossing on track 3 will be right there. So I still have to do just a little bit more modification over there to make it a little bit better. But for the most part, it came out pretty smooth. Very light sanding tomorrow, and I believe 2 coats did it. So I'm very pleased with this product. I've noticed that there's very, very little cracking, very little shrinkage, and it's setting up very nice. So I am pleased. The rail is ready to go. There's a couple imperfections I noticed here, but I'm going to leave them because I can use that to put a pothole, put some grass tufts growing through, and use it to my advantage to make it more realistic. So next time you see this will probably be painted, and then we're going to start with ground cover. Alright, see you at the next update. Alright, with after further consideration, I decided to put a third coat on. So what I did with the second coat is I lightly sanded the top with a 220 grit sandpaper, just to take off any of the rough spots. There wasn't many. And I'm getting ready to put the third and hopefully last coat on. So you'll see an update shortly. Alright, the third and final coat is on and it's dry. It's ready to be sanded. I have a couple spots here I just have to lightly sand, and then this area is going to be ready for paint. If you look at the height of the material, I actually had to put in about 1/8. That's 3 coats worth of setting type compound. You're going to do this, what I've learned doing this project, is you're going to need at least 3 coats, especially if you're doing street running or you want to bury the track in the pavement, and keeps everything nice and level. The foam tape that I used on this was pretty good. I just pulled off this section recently, and it creates a nice line. I may feather this line down a little bit, but this is all going to be covered with ground cover and such. So I'll build this up. I'm going to use sculpt-a-mold to feather this edge here, so you won't even see that when I'm done. And I'll actually show you some of the foam tape coming off there. So I'll have to clean up the edges with a razor knife, but no big deal, and just vacuum up these little pieces of debris. So next time you see this, it'll be painted. Alright, catch you at the next update. Okay, all the sanding has been done. I took the edges and I sanded them down in all the areas. I went around, made sure all the buildings were going to fit on top of the foundations. That one as well. I had to actually dig out the foundation a little bit right there, but I actually put the building on there and it actually looked pretty good sitting the way it was. All these edges here are going to be modified with sculpt-a-mold. I'm going to blend everything in really nice. But the next step is actual paint. And there's the future crossing right there. Once I know where the road across the tracks is going to go, then I'll continue there. What I did right before, I vacuumed it off, all the dust, and then I took a damp rag, a lightly damp rag, and I wiped it off very lightly. You have to be careful when the compound is the way it is right now. If you put water on it, it will turn into mud again. So you have to be very careful with it. So the next step is paint. See you at the next video. Alright, the paint work is done, and I'm going to begin the process of putting the sculpt-a-mold on. And I'll blend the ground right up to the line of the road. So next video you'll see it all blended in. Then the ground cover will be next. Alright, welcome back to the layout. What I'm going to be talking about now is sculpt-a-mold and how it's used to blend in areas. Sculpt-a-mold is basically a paper mache product, and you mix it 2 parts sculpt-a-mold to 1 part water. What's nice about the product is you can tint it. And I basically just put the material in a cup, mix it up with an artist's spatula, and you can actually apply it with the same tool. So if you look at the area that I've been working on, this industrial scene with street running and buried track, the areas are starting to blend in really nice. And what's nice about this product, it does take about 3 days to dry, so it gives you more than enough working time to work with it. But once it dries, it creates really a realistic ground effect. Once you start adding your ground foam or dirt or whatever you use to scenic your layout. So this is the section I need to finish up tonight, but so far this project is coming out pretty good. So in the next video you're actually going to see groundwork being performed. I'm going to use a variety of different products, including chalks, foam, realistic dirt, and we're going to really create a nice scene here. Alright, thanks for watching this segment. And the next one's going to be on ground cover. Alright, welcome back to the layout. I'm just going to give you an update on the sculpt-a-mold. It took about a day to dry, and in addition to blending in where the street is, I decided to make mounds of dirt, or simulated mounds of dirt, in a couple different areas, just to add a little bit more variety, so not everything is so flat. Because when you go out and look at a prototype, most of the time it's not perfectly flat. It has some variation. And in addition to that, I put my weathering chalks on the paint, as you can see here. And I started adding cracks in the asphalt. Used a couple different techniques. And what I'm going to do, like I did over here, I'm actually going to add grass tufts and some simulated grass growing through the cracks. So the next update, you'll see all the cracks in, completed, and hopefully some groundwork being done. See you the next update. Alright, welcome back to the layout. I'm working on gluing down all my groundwork. All my ground covers in, and what I'm using is 91% alcohol first, then the glue. Using the alcohol cuts the surface tension. I've been doing that for all my groundwork and ballast for a while now, and it's worked pretty well. It looks a little sloppy, but I will tell you, once this dries, it'll look really good. And that's the matte medium that I use. One thing you have to remember when you're working near switches, make sure that the switch actually moves back and forth. You do not want to get any type of glue in there, otherwise your switch will be glued to the last position it was in, and that's not a good thing. So the next update, you'll see all the dry groundwork. Okay, welcome back to the layout. This is going to be the final video installment of layout update number 3. I finished the scene today, with the exception of the buildings. I still have to finish the power plant. I have to paint the fuel tank in the back, which would be part of Bridgeport Gas Light Company. And I also have to finish these two structures here, which I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be using these as one business or two separate businesses. To the right of the fuel tank, I'm going to be putting in a stone wall to simulate the elevated portion of the track that runs through Bridgeport, Connecticut, if you're familiar with it. I'm going to be using the flexible stone wall to achieve that look. And I also have to put in a structure underneath the bridge as part of the Bridgeport Gas Light Company. So just to show you the groundwork that I did alongside the main line here, and also in this area here, I used around 14 different materials to achieve this look, not including the ballast. And I used around 4 or 5 different colors on the railroad ties to try to make them look like weathered wood. In addition to all the groundwork I did piles of random stuff next to the roadway and also next to the track with tires and wood and cinder blocks, old barrels. And I also made my own old railroad ties that have been discarded, just to simulate something that's been replaced and put off to the side. And there's some of the cinder blocks that I painted and weathered up. The actual tie plates are separate pieces that I purchased, painted and weathered. And so far I'm pleased with the results. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you at the next layout video.